On this episode of Industry Relations, Rob and I beat a dead horse with a new stick. Let's go. This is Industry Relations, a podcast that's at the intersection of real estate and technology from an insider's perspective, with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Industry Relations with Rob and Greg. This is obviously your co-host, the notorious Rob Hahn, and with me, as always, the fabulous Greg Fab Robertson. Oh, we doing point fingers now?
I don't know.
Yeah, you move over from jazz hands. You're mixing things up, Greg.
Well, hola, Rob. Good to see you, man. Here we are
Hola,
again.
good to see you. Today's hot day for those watching this on video.
That's right.
And what is that?
Yeah.
SM? Is that like S&M
So I have,
club that you belong
exactly.
to?
So I get questions on this, so I'll kind of describe. So this is a YouTuber. Maybe you've heard of Casey Neistat. He has a brother named Van Neistat. He's a YouTuber, and he does these kind of little short films. And it's an interesting site. So if you want to go to YouTube and look for Spirited Man, and that's just a little swag from that site. Somebody else asked me, like, on this side, that's kind of a reproduction of a poster for John Coltrane playing with Miles Davis at a jazz club. And then on over this side, if ever, you know, this speech is somewhat famous where Steve Jobs did a presentation to Stanford at commencement. And he talked about the Whole Earth catalog, and he remembers that in the back of the Whole Earth catalog, there was a picture of a road and just this, and a kind of a, that eclipse thing on the top there. And the saying was, I think it's, stay hungry, stay foolish. So I actually found that Whole Earth catalog on eBay, and I took the back page off and I framed it, and that's what that is back there. So a little bit of description. I do get asked that, so that's actually, it's a good thing you ask, because people go, "What the hell's behind you?" Right? So
yeah. Nice. All right. I have nothing that cool behind me other than Stephen King book and. Anyway, all right. So I think just a quick little update from our last week's conversation, which I think was well received because people love it when mommy and daddy
that's what I put
fight.
on Twitter. That's what I put on Twitter. I said, "Mommy and daddy are fighting again."
But you know, as I think we expected, the Fed raised rates.
I don't know if we
bips,
expected that. I expected that.
We did. No. You expected a 75 basis point hike. I should have taken that.
I thought it was before the bank crisis, but I thought that it would go down because that.
You went with 50. I mean, we could
25,
like said,
25, 25, like, 25.
I think 25.
Okay, right.
Right.
Roll tape.
So,
roll tape.
So we both expected 25 bips. The bet still is about April meeting. And I'm feeling pretty good because, dude, Powell was sounding very, very dovish.
No, man.
How you feel it?
Definitely, it's going up another 25 basis points at least. Yeah, and
another 25.
If he was dovish, he wouldn't have done it now. If there was any time to pause or pivot, it would have been this time, right? But well, we'll see.
No, but we'll see.
And then a little bit more follow up. A lot of people reached out to me also saying that anybody can open up an account at Silicon Valley Bank, not just entrepreneurs or private equity people, but it's a regular bank. People can just open up an account there. And also that, the way that this those banks that you talked about that were closed, the depositors were still made whole. Right. So
yeah, that's what a bank bailout is.
But I mean, even the smaller ones, you were saying we were forgetting about those guys and only the big guys get the thing. But, in the cases of even the smaller banks, the depositors were still made whole, right? So this is not
up to the FDIC limit. Yeah, Silicon Valley Bank was made whole over and above the
but the way
FDIC
that I think
limit.
it made it sound for you guys was that in these smaller banks that don't have a lot of those upper limit guys, those guys were not made whole, but they were.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. No, but that's what I'm saying. They were not. Well, that's clear.
Yeah. Again,
FDIC limit exists, right? And look, so in light of that, hold on. There's a very big YouTube video going around, and I think I wrote a post linking it. So go to Notorious Rob. You can look for it. It's public. Where the senator from Oklahoma is questioning right? The Treasury, Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, saying, so, hey, does this mean now that all banks, including my small banks in Oklahoma, get the SVB treatment? And she says, no. So that's what we're talking about. Of course, if you're a small depositor under the FDIC limit, you're covered no matter where you are, small bank, big bank, whatever. The issue is if you're above that 250,000. So let's just bring it to our industry. Let's say you're a brokerage and you have $1 million
Mm-hmm.
sitting there in your checking account. If you have it with Oklahoma Home Savings or Loans, you're fucked. 750,000 of it is not covered. If you are with Silicon Valley Bank, apparently
Right. I
you
think
are
that
covered.
no,
You know what I mean?
okay, I
It's
get
that
that. I
thing,
think the way that
right?
it made it sound, you were making it sound is that, in these other, nobody got bailed out, right? So yeah, okay, all
Oh
right,
no,
that's
no,
fine.
no. Anyway,
I'm just
all
looking
right.
for. I'm thinking,
So we
what's the
shall
best
revisit
steakhouse
this
in Vegas?
in
I mean, I'm
April.
just trying to
I'm gonna say
now
it's
remember. I'd be
probably either
Cleaver. Okay,
Cleaver
well, you said the name. I'm just
or right or God, what's the name of the place that Stephanie took us to that one time?
okay.
Anyway,
Well,
I'll remember it. Yeah, I'll remember it.
I'll
It's all
I'll reach
good.
out to Stephanie when it's my
It's
time
all good.
to collect.
happy to have you collect, but I think I'm gonna be eating on your dime on this one. Anyway, so where is that? My understanding is you've
Yes,
been traveling. You went to yet
yes, I
another
did. So
event. So
so
tell me
I was
about
up
that.
in I'd actually was looking forward to this. I'd been went to the last two events. It was 1,000 Watt puts an event on called Turn On, and actually I think it was either the first or the second event. We were part of the event. Dan and I were interviewed and talked about our
Hmm.
journey as far as bootstrapping a software company, and really enjoyed that experience. And really big fans of what 1,000 Watt does for the industry. They're kind of an ad agency slash design firm for some of the brokerages that everybody knows about. And they also work with other vendors on identity and marketing and things. And they just it's like an unconference in a way. They just kind of look at things from a view askew, so to speak, right? So you don't get your kind of typical speakers that you would get there. And I really enjoyed it. It was just, there was actually a lot of MLS
Hmm.
peeps over there. So I got to see Shelly and Danae and Dave Howe and David Sharon, Brian
Yep.
Donald. I mean, a lot of people from the industry were there. So that was cool. And,
Cool.
just to give you kind of some examples of the content that was, and again, it's like it's real estate, but it's coming from a different angle. And then Brian gave some presentations on some of the research they've been doing, and I wanted to. I'll tell you about what they found, and I thought I want to get your opinion. But like the first
All right.
gal that came up
Cool.
was first woman that came up was a professor of like biology or some sort of degree on that, and she wanted to talk about housing in the animal kingdom, right? And the first thing that she talked about
Okay.
was like a snail, right, who kind of grows their own and
Okay.
carries their house with them, right? And you're like thinking like,
Okay.
again, this is like it's kind of rewiring your brain a little bit. It's just you're changing your perspective of things. And then talked about hermit crab who's basically got to go find a shelter, right? And then figure out if
Hmm.
that fits
Hmm.
their needs, and then carries that around, right? And it serves to protect
Right.
and all those kind of things. And then talking about like maybe like the coral reef is really a multifamily complex, right, of organisms that live on
Oh,
on
okay.
that.
Neat.
And it's
All right.
just it's like I don't know if this is useful, if it's whatever, but it's like it's just another way of thinking about things. And that's kind of, I think, we're almost the best example of the type of content that they did there. Another thing that was fascinating was like,
Hmm.
you would think like, we're in Portland, Oregon, and it's kind of a liberal town for sure, right?
You think?
And but they
Was Antifa a speaker
no,
at
no,
this
you know
event,
who
or
was a speaker though? A brigadier I'm not even, I don't know if I'm really pronouncing that right. A brigadier general of the brigadier
brigadier?
general of the
Brigadier.
army gave a presentation. And
Okay.
uh, uh
On what?
again,
On
this is
housing?
fascinating, right? It's just talking about the challenges the army is having with recruiting, right? If you're from a broker's perspective
Oh,
or
sure.
culturally, and and how hard it is to get young people interested anymore, and because of either changing attitudes, all sorts of things. But she was basically in charge of all the
Yeah.
ROTC
Yeah.
programs in the United States, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
1,600
Yeah.
cadets
Yeah.
in that thing, and just talking about
Yeah.
like, the different attitudes that they have. And that kind of really, again, not
Oh, yeah.
exactly correlated to real estate, but like they're just talking about industries that are having their own challenges as things progress.
But that's I mean, so we're talking about an entire generation of soft, out of shape video game
That's part of
surfing,
it. That's definitely
you know, young people who don't want to go die in a foreign country in order to make bankers and pharmaceutical companies super wealthy. I mean, I can't imagine why the army would have trouble recruiting.
right. But I mean, these are people that, you wanted to kind of like, buy homes, right? I mean, and then also other challenges of like the military people face and moving every 2 years and what that's like, and how to kind of do that. So
Sure,
like there
sure.
was multiple things there, but again, full uniform up there giving a presentation.
Yeah,
You wouldn't really kind of
yeah,
expect, that type of
yeah, yeah,
content.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'm surprised that she was allowed into
yeah,
Portland, actually.
yeah. Well, she was probably well guarded, right? So that was good. She could pack legally there.
So,
Um, what else?
good point.
Uh, you know, there's an agent they brought in from Atlanta, and I think some of her property descriptions have gone viral on some on Facebook and stuff because
Oh, okay.
she really did. She really does tell a story in all their list. It's just again like you don't have to just write the boring listing descriptions. Tell a story there. And some of her stuff has been like gone viral in different social media platforms, and they brought her in,
Uh-huh.
and man, she did a great job. And I'll have the names and everything in the show notes here, but of talking about her journey of
Cool.
like how she got into real estate. And then another person who was opening up a boutique, and those challenges. Brian did some kind of talking about some of the research they've done at
Yeah.
1,000 Watt, and yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear about this.
So
Yeah. So,
part of it was like understanding like do consumers care about compensation, right? Do they really, I mean, are they
mhm,
really upset about they're paying too much? And doing the research,
mhm, mhm.
that find out they don't, right? They look at it as a convenience. They want to, the one thing that they don't want is like a bunch of people traipsing through their homes, which gives a little signal like maybe the iBuyer model, there's something there if they can make it profitable. And I think both you and I agree on that. Um, but as far as
Mhm.
asking, do they think that their agent was paid too much or just about right, or too much? I mean, I was in like 70% of just right or too little, right? So that was
Right.
like, what they wanted was more frictionless. They just wanted it to go smoother, but they were willing to pay for that. And what was their attitudes about real estate
Mhm.
agents? And most people said that they were good people, right? And if they knew any real estate agents, and most of them said yes, and they were good people. And
Mhm.
also, Brian, I think, had an extra grind with all these real estate reality shows and like what they thought of that, and they thought it was
Uh,
entertainment. They didn't really think that either portrayed realtors
yeah.
as good or bad or anything. But then he did an exercise that was really interesting to me, where if he talked about, he started breaking things down. Let's say there's 330 million Americans, right? And then you break it down like who are going to be homeowners, right? And then you break it down to like, okay, well, actually, you know, um, if you think about who are homeowners, typically 70% of those are couples. Okay. Then you
Mhm.
start saying there's 1.5 million realtors, right? And then you start to do the correlation, that Venn diagram of like, well, some of the studies show like most people know about 600 people in their lifetime. Well, between the couple, the
Yes.
70% of the buying population, they know at least 5.5 agents, right? And that, so the question that you posit is like, does the number of agents matter? And it seems that when
Mhm.
they know more agents and they think highly or those people are like, oh, Cheryl, she's good. Robert, I like Robert. He sells
Sure.
real estate or whatever. That gives them
Sure.
more of a positive vibe about the industry and again what the services are providing. So it was just interesting of taking that kind of data down into like saying there are a lot of reasons why people are okay paying what they're paying right now. And a part of that is familiarity.
Hmm.
And like it's in a weird way, the number of realtors, and we've talked about this all the time. Does that matter? Does that give NAR more pull, right, or whatever? But it does, in a sense, it does matter in that consumer perception is, they know a lot of realtors, and they think of them as good people and
Sure.
not as used car salesmen or things like that. So I thought that was kind of fascinating as well of bringing that to point, right?
Okay. So, based on that research, what conclusions do you draw from that?
Um, well, again, I think I've been. We always talk about. I would never not hire a realtor just because it's the biggest purchase of
Sure.
my home, and that
Sure.
I would want that, and it's also to me a time saver and everything else there. Um, but we talked about, like you say, the Illuminati want the commission rate to be 2.5% or whatever, and
Yeah.
that's what's driving a lot of this thing. But again, it doesn't seem to be based upon consumers, right? I mean, there are
So
sub.
the right. So
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
obvious
No, go ahead.
conclusion. Hold on. Right. So the obvious conclusion that you draw from that research then is there should be absolutely no problem then with these lawsuits succeeding. There should be no problem with the DOJ or the FTC coming in and saying, hey guys, no more commission sharing. Pay your own agents." There should be no impact, right? Because to your point, buyers, sellers, consumers like real estate agents. They think highly of them. 5.5. They don't mind paying for the service. So there should be no problem then,
Well,
right?
we're going to see, right? I mean, I think it's all the devil's in the details there. How is that going to be
Right.
implemented? Right? Is I think what everybody's going to be focusing on.
So right. So the question then becomes this. Let's
Right.
just assume that Brian's research is correct, right? Then why are we fighting it?
Great question.
Why is NAR fighting it?
Well,
Why
it's
are
not
the
that
MLSs fighting it so
well,
hard?
there's
We
not
shouldn't
we're
be fighting
fighting
it.
it. It's like I think that the measures of like a class action lawsuit and some of the things they're throwing out there that are going to be consequences of this is just crazy, right? So I think they're going to try to. They know that they're believing this research is true as well. I mean, they think of course, their members are providing value, and this is kind of a nuisance. But at the same time, they've got to control as much as they can to kind of keep. They don't want to give everything away, so they got to fight for some ground. I don't know what those specific things they want to. That I don't know what those
So
hills they want to die on, but they just can't say roll over and say,
right.
yeah, you're right. We'll just let this happen. Of course not. They're not going to do that.
So let's just say that tomorrow, right, the entire NAR board comes together and says, "Hey, Greg, we're gonna make you king of realtors, all things realtor, all things
Well,
MLS
that would be a very
for
smart decision on their part.
for a week." Okay, I think it would be two for a week, and then the lawyers, along with the DOJ, come to you with a
Mhm.
settlement proposal. Because
Yes.
remember when we talked about this, I said
Right.
there's no settlement, right? Settlement proposal goes like this. You guys are facing something north of $500 billion in damages. We know you can't pay. We know you'd be bankrupt. So I'll tell you what, we'll reduce it down to say $1 billion, right, to be paid among 5 companies. Actually, that is an amount that that you
Your
can pay, and
insurance company.
your
Yeah.
your insurance will cover. Okay. In exchange, you're going to completely drop all compensate cooperation compensation. You're going to drop control over the MLS.
No,
We go with that? Eh, Why not?
I don't think that you need to like completely drop those things. I think you can work. I think transparency and all those things are up to thing.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying, wait, hold on, hold on. I'm saying this is the settlement offer, right? In other words, you don't pay out the ass in damages, but you drop cooperation compensation. Every agent paid by their own client.
No.
Because if Brian's research is correct, then you should take that deal, right?
Again, I think those are kind of attitudes and things there. But as far as you're talking about, like destroying the fundamental structure of how we do business now, and I think there is there should be a desire, and I think it's smart to kind of keep as much of that structure as we can. I mean, again, I think we're
I get it, man. No, I get it. In other words, you want to just win. I get that. I'm saying if it's there's no winning, it's a settlement offer. You financially, you're not going to be ruined, but in exchange, you give up cooperation compensation. So that commission rates will actually float to around 2.5% because only the seller is paying the listing agent commission and the buyer agent is being taken care of by the buyer.
well.
If
That doesn't
Brian's
mean that the
research is
total
correct, and I'm not
that
saying it
doesn't mean
is
that
or it
the
isn't,
total commission is
right?
down. I mean, it's just separated,
But
right?
it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's completely separate. If Brian's research is correct, then the buyer should have no
Right.
problem paying their agents. So you should take that
No, I
deal.
mean, again, I think I would want to preserve some of the business practices we've had. Again, I'm open to discuss
Right.
what we can do besides just
So
blowing it up.
I know,
But
I know. I'm saying, but here's the discussion. You get to survive financially, you give that up. There's no there's no like I want to. No, no, no. That's the offer.
no,
Do you take the offer? Okay. Then why not? Because it's like then you're saying Brian's
no,
research is
it's
not
not. It's
correct.
not that at all. I mean, we still have a way. You have brokerages, you have franchisers, you have a whole of your
I know, but
membership.
none of them are affected. None of them are affected if Brian's research is correct, and consumers are more than happy to pay their agents.
Right,
None of those companies are affected, right? So there's zero impact in the industry by giving up this cooperation compensation.
right. Again,
So the fact that you're saying, no, no, I don't want to give that up, what that says to me is that in your heart of hearts, in the back of your mind, in your gut, you feel like that research is
right. So
actually not
again,
correct. That if this goes away, then actually we are going to see the commission
I
pool
just don't.
really
I
drop
don't think
dramatically.
that giving up all the value that an MLS provides just is going to be a. It's not going to affect anything. I think there's a
Wait, time out. Are you saying that all the value the MLS provides is
no,
cooperation compensation? I
no, no,
thought MLS
no, no, no,
provides
no. You're
data,
saying that if
provides
the
all
way
this
I'm
other
interpreting what you're
stuff.
saying is that you do the settlement and the MLS goes away.
No, no. I'm saying cooperation compensation goes in. NAR
Well, I
no
mean
longer controls the
cooperation. I mean,
MLS.
if you're saying that they can no longer cooperate in an MLS, then I don't. I think that's a non-starter.
No,
Okay,
you
so
can
but you just said
cooperate.
cooperation. You
What's
said
cooperation without? Wait, hold on. Hold on. What I said cooperation and compensation. What's cooperation without compensation?
well, I think again we talked to this on other podcasts. There's more value than just
Sure.
compensation, right? So, but that means we
Agreed.
have to.
Just I'm saying I'm trying to get you to answer the question. What is cooperation without compensation?
Let's cooperate.
It means when a buyer agent says, "Hey, I want to see this house," you say, "Cool,
Right,
let me schedule a showing." It means you
right,
negotiate in good faith. That would happen anyway,
right, right.
right? Whether you had so fine, just the compensation. You're no longer sharing commissions. Commission rates are not 2.5%. Buyer agents, you get paid by the buyer.
Okay.
NAR
Yeah.
doesn't make
Okay.
rules for the MLS.
No.
Why would you
Maybe I
take
would
that deal?
consider what I thought you were saying is like you have to disband all these things that are okay. No, I
Oh
mean
no,
I
of
might
course
consider
not.
that. Sure, I
No.
might consider that.
And then to me, also again, I'm just trying to get back to. I don't question Brian's research. I haven't seen it. I'm sure they've actually done a really good job. But if that is true, then we as an industry should stop fighting this so much
Well, I
and move
think we're
on.
fighting like you know
Right?
the $1 billion, $6 billion, those kind of
Correct.
things.
Right. And that's why
Yeah,
I said
yeah.
the settlement that way. Right. I say if the settlement were, hey, financially, we're gonna make it so where you
Well,
don't
yeah.
go
I guess
bankrupt. Right.
you
But you
know
got to give all this
as
up.
we've talked about, I think we both think that there's somehow people are going to figure out how to get paid. I think this is another kind of signal to me that there's life after all this, right? So,
Sure.
but these looming things of these, class actions or things or something, that has to be dealt with, and we'll see how that pans out. But I think this is, again, I might take that deal, right? I mean, now that you're framing it in the way that you're framing it, but you know,
Yeah.
I think it's in a sense, it's to me another backup of what I have been saying and believe that there's still
Yeah.
life after this. This is not an extinction level event for the MLS or real estate organized real estate.
One thing I am curious about the Brian research. I don't know if he mentioned this, so I'll just ask you, right? We should get Brian on to
Yeah.
actually present the research and then we could talk about it. But since we weren't smart enough to think of that ahead of time, I'm just asking you, right? Did he did he make any distinction between consumers who have worked with a realtor in the past and went through an experience versus those who had not?
I don't remember.
Here's why I'm asking that question. Okay. I think if you consumers don't they're not in the housing market, right? Like once every 7 years, once every 10 years, something like that, right? The vast majority of first time home buyers have never bought a home.
Right.
Their interaction with the realtor is going to be more social, more it's like, hey, I know I can't remember the name you mentioned,
Right.
Joni, right? She's really great and she's like a really nice person and she's at my church. I know she sells real estate, right? So it's very positive in that sense, right? What I wonder about is people have actually been through a transaction, right? If they still have the same feelings.
Well, again, I mean, there is a stat out there. I think NAR put out a long time ago, and it's hard to attribute, but the stat is this: it's that over 80% of consumers, when queried, said that they had a very positive experience with their realtor and use them again, but only 12% actually do.
Hmm.
Right. And I
Right,
attribute that to churn.
right.
And of course also agents.
I attribute that to being polite.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, if we're gonna start going down like, okay, I'm just gonna answer studies and surveys to be polite, then I mean, we got then everything we talk about is just going to be whatever, right? But
Correct, correct. Which is why surveys are
right,
always kind
and
of
actually, I'll take
you
that
got
back.
to
But he
supplement
did
it.
say something on this point, right? So as he's going through this thing, and I love these kind of it's very similar to every design process I've been through with software or anything else because you pull that thread. So
Yeah.
he's talking about like, okay, well, has your realtor now that you've triggered my memory here? Some of the stuff was like the question, well, have you talked to your realtor in the last 6 months? No. Have they reached out to you? No.
Yep.
Right. What would you think would be things that you would as asking again these clients of the realtors, what would you think would be helpful for you to that you maybe the realtor knows or something that might be helpful to you? Well,
Hmm.
I'd like to know, you know, um, I need a painter here or I need a handyman. Maybe they could provide that for me. Okay,
Hmm.
what's another
Hmm.
thing? Well, we're thinking of doing some additions and maybe some remodeling. And I probably they sell a lot of these houses. What are the best? Where should I spend my money on that? Right. And then the
Yeah.
last thing
Yeah.
I think you can
Yeah.
guess, and that's of course, like what is an updated um, value of my home? Right. We sold it a year ago. Whatever else. And
Yeah.
that he's like, okay, those are three concrete things. So what Thousand Watt did, I thought was just brilliant. They wrote a quick email, some copy, right? Hey, haven't hey, Connie,
So and so. Yeah. Yeah.
haven't spoke to a lot. Just wanted to reach out and listen. If you have any questions about if you need any help with finding a good handyman, a good painter, a good electrician, let me know. Number two, if you're thinking of
Hmm.
doing some remodeling, I can share with you what I think is the best bang for your buck on the remodeling. And of course,
Yep.
I'll reach out to me and
Yep.
I'll give you an updated CMA. Thanks a lot, whatever. And just that
Yep. Yep.
one thing,
Yep.
which they basically said, "Hey, steal this," was like one of the biggest things they've ever done, just on that little bit of research, right? And really caused that needle to move for their clients. So, um, I think it's
Hmm.
just a
Hmm.
matter of just giving them the right information and tools of doing that. I mean, it's like everything. It's like anything that's ever successful. It's so fucking obvious, right? But sometimes just pulling that
Yeah.
thread out of these conversations, out of these surveys, or out of these studies is really the way you kind of find that out, right? Which, but at the end of the day, you always go, of course it is. Of course, those are the three things, right?
Yeah. 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 No, the reason I asked that is because there's probably there's a lot of truth to that. What I wonder about is let me see if I can frame this the right way. Let's say you went and interviewed
Mm-hmm.
10,000 real estate agents, okay, and you ask them, of the people in your MLS, right? Say of the 10, whatever, 30,000 agents in your MLS, right? What percentage of them would you say are competent professionals? What do you think the
Yeah,
agent's answer
that's
to that would be?
that would be pretty rough.
It would likely be somewhere in the 15 to 20% range, maybe. What do you think? How do you think the agents
Right.
would answer that question? I'd say it's
Yeah.
maybe, we'll
Yeah.
call it
I would
20%,
probably agree with you.
right? So in the agent's perspective, 80% of agents in their MLS are incompetent. And yet consumer works with them. What that says to me is, okay, then the consumer got incompetent, shitty service, right? 80% of the time. Does that change the perspective after they've been through a transaction? Now, the ones that had a competent realtor who really knows what she's doing, I could, that's me. I'm one of those people, right? Every realtor
Yeah.
I've used has been amazing. And I'm like, I have a real positive impression. I would never, I would always use a realtor. I get that. But I do wonder if I had a really incompetent realtor, had a terrible experience, a lack of communication,
Right.
terrible negotiations, paperwork not being done, would I have a different perception? I think I would. I really do. And you go on social media, you go on Reddit, you go on Twitter, you'll see these consumers pipe up from time to time. It's like, my agent never calls me, doesn't tell me anything. I'm going to sue my agent, all this shit. And I'm like, don't tell me those people have a positive impression. So what's the Venn diagram? When you look at professionals who say 80% of other agents are incompetent, and consumers who say, I love my agent.
Yeah.
Like,
I think, yeah,
that's what
I
I'm trying
think
to,
what it flips the other way though. So you get 20% of the agents are doing 80 to 90% of the business, right?
80% of deals,
So,
right, right, right.
right. So,
Okay, good point.
yeah.
Very, very
So
good point. You're right.
it's really odd, but I think that's what's happening, right? Because the
Yeah,
majority, they're getting the business.
yeah, yeah.
Those other 80 incompetents are, are maybe not,
Right,
right? So I think that's
right. So 80% of consumers are having a great experience
by the
because they're
top,
being
yeah,
serviced by the
who
20% of
actually
agents
are
who are
doing business,
competent.
right? Yeah. Here we are.
Well, I mean, that leads to certain policy
Yeah.
conclusions, though, right? So going back to Greg as
Mm,
king of NAR for a
feels
week,
good.
clearly you would then start making policies to drive 80% of realtors
Yeah.
out of
I mean,
business,
again, we can go back to the raising the
right?
bar, all that kind of stuff. I mean,
Oh, of course. And it's the
I
same
know.
goddamn conversation we've been
Yeah.
having for 40
Yeah.
years, right? And then here's the point that I would make though. If NAR, if the associations are unable or unwilling to do that, right? Knowing what we just talked about, knowing that 80% of agents probably should not be in business, but they're unable and unwilling to do that. At what point do you then have to say they've been taken over by curbstoners?
Right. Curb stoners. What do you mean?
Right? At what point? So, the origins of NAR, right? The very beginning, like in 1906, was that there are all these like
Yeah.
unlicensed, because there was no license at the time, right? All these unethical, shitty real estate agents were called curbstoners who go around and defraud people and cheat them. And realtors like, this is bullshit. We need to come together as, professionals
But that to
and
me that
stop
gives the
this and
connotation that
distinguish
these are
ourselves.
nefarious people, right? Not just,
Well, the
yeah, okay, not
curbstoners were
in this case
nefarious.
we're talking about
Yeah,
incompetence, right? And I think there's a self,
correct.
and any vendor will tell you this, the thing is that 80 to 85% that, and there's a 15 to 20% are doing the business.
Yeah,
It's a churn, right? So it's like they're in and out so fast of the business, right? What is the stat? 30% a year. So in a year, you've got
sure,
that bottom
sure.
80% is a brand new set, right?
All new. Yep.
Um, so I don't know if it's, that might be part of it as well, right?
No, but I'm saying vendors or like brokerages, like, look, they're in business, right? If they're gonna sell to the 30% that churn, the bottom 80%, that's their business. I get that. I'm saying realtor associations, the fact that they seem unable and unwilling or whatever to make those policies, at some point after a certain number of years, you have to go, maybe they're on the other side. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they're on the side of the incompetence. At some point, you have to be able to make that judgment, right? Like, you shall judge a tree by its fruits. Okay, well, we've had 20 years, raise the bar conversation, left, right, and center. Everyone agrees, right? 80% of consumers have a great experience because the 20% that are competent are serving them. 20% of consumers have a terrible experience because the 80% of the incompetents are serving them. Okay, at some point, then the Realtor Association have to go, hey, you know what, guys? whatever the policies are, whatever it is that we do, we gotta eliminate the 80%,
Yeah. I mean, the trouble
right?
there, and I say this a lot, it's like it's such an aspirational business, right? Um, and it's
Sure.
hard to kind of like police that aspirational, aspect of this, right? Of being such
Okay.
gatekeepers that, of doing that. So it's not an easy problem. That's why it hasn't been solved, right? I mean, where's that line you draw
I,
beyond the you take a course for a week and pass a test, right? I mean, yeah.
sure. Sure. And I accept all that. And obviously, I know all the problems. I've been in all those rooms. I've had all those conversations. We both have for
Yes.
decades, for as long as we've both been in the industry. I get it. All I'm saying is, at some point, you got to look at the results, right? Because it's a hard problem to solve. Okay, cool. It's a hard problem to solve. You've had 20 years to try and solve it. You haven't. So at some point, we have to go. Maybe you're on the
Right.
other side, right? I mean, I think that's a fair judgment. And if you're, I'm sorry, if you're a Realtor Association board member, executive, and you're hearing this and you think Rob's an asshole, I'm sorry. Fine, I'm an asshole. But at some point, you have to go, results speak for themselves. And the results are you haven't done any of this. And we have 80% of agents out there who are incompetent, who are fucking up the 20% of consumers, right? And that's, I mean,
But could you say though, right now, that's a broker issue? That's not an NAR issue, right? I mean, you don't want NAR making those
no,
type of things, right? You
no, I do. And here's why. Brokers don't have a code of ethics. Brokers don't have this mission statement that says we're going to raise professionalism. NAR does.
I think
Realtor
you've changed your
associations
mind
do.
on that. I think I've been in conversations, arguments, whatever you call them, where you were always saying the broker is responsible. They're the ones that should be making these things, not NAR shouldn't be dictating their employee, not
I think you're
employees.
confusing me with a
Okay.
different. Yeah, I think you're confusing me with a different Rob Hahn.
All right, I'm gonna have to go
I've
back in our
never thought that.
industry
No,
relations
no,
podcast and like find this
sure.
snippet
Oh,
that next time I can click on my button and it'll say the same. It'll say those things.
sure. Look, at the end of the day, the brokers are responsible for recruiting and training and management and supervision, all of that. I get that. My point though is that brokers are out there to make money. Brokers are out there to be a business, and if being profitable means I go recruit a whole bunch of unproductive agents who are incompetent, but they're going to pay me whatever, so I'm going to do it because I'm a business at the end of the day, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Right.
That makes sense to me. Whereas realtor associations, on their charter, like their reason for existing is driving professionalism. So after 20 years of driving professionalism resulting in what we have today, at some point you got to go, are you really on the side of
Right.
this? Right. And you could make all the excuses and you could point out all the reasons why it can't happen or cool, that's fine. I get all that. But there,
Eh,
after 20, 30 years, at some point we're gonna go,
yeah,
you're on the other
and
side.
it's tough also because the signals that you're getting, like for instance,
Hmm.
we've said this before, but last year more people used a realtor than ever before. Right. So if you think about like forget all the stuff we're talking
Yeah.
about, but if you're looking at metrics, you're looking at KPIs, like are the number of people in the United States using a realtor less or more? And if you just
Yeah.
it's more.
More.
So it's like okay, again,
Yeah.
what do we have to do here?
But
What's wrong?
hold on a
What's wrong
second.
with
But
this
we're talking about
equation?
two different
I don't
things.
think so. I mean, if well,
Greg,
no,
we're
no,
talking
but I
about
mean
two
that's
different
there's a
things.
factor. I mean,
Right? No, it's not a factor. And here's why. What we just said was 80% of consumers have a good experience because they're working with the 20% of competent realtors. Okay, the total number of people who use realtors has increased. Great. 80% of them use the competent realtor. No one has a problem with that. Do you know what I'm saying? You used a competent realtor who gave you the right advice, who did the right thing, fulfilled their fiduciary duty, kept you informed, and made the transaction as painless as possible. No one has a problem with this, right? But when you have that increase and 20% of the consumers worked with an incompetent realtor and had a really bad experience,
no,
like it's going to
yeah.
expand the same
Again,
way, right?
I'm thinking I'm a store. I'm a company. I sell a product, and my product was it was
Yeah.
used the most ever last year. That's a good sign.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. What if you're a company and your product is we sell professionalism?
More people are buying my product, so that's a good thing.
But they're
No, they
not.
they did.
That's what
They
I'm
they
saying.
actually used that product more than ever last year.
No, but yeah, no, of course, your
No,
product,
I'm talking about,
CMA, I get it.
it's
I'm
of
saying
any
if you
pro
were a
just,
company,
to me, NAR's product is real estate agents, right? They want Yeah,
NAR's product is real
they
estate
want
agents.
more they want pe
Isn't that a
hold
problem?
on. They want people who are buying or selling houses to use their product, which is a realtor, right? And more people did that last year than ever before. That's a positive signal, right? I don't know how you can I don't know
Oh
how
my
you could
God.
like debate that.
Okay. No, I guess the debate is if you say that NAR's product is realtors
It's a
of whatever
National
quality, then I
Association of
guess you're
what,
right.
Rob? Oh, okay.
The
Thank you very much.
realtors.
Thank you very
Right.
much.
That's right.
It's not the
Well,
it's not
thank you
the
very much. What?
National Association of, picture frames, or the National Association of.
Wait, so you're just completely ignoring the fact that National Association of Realtors, not National Association for Realtors, right? Its entire mission statement is professionalism.
Okay, and
It's lobbying
the,
and professionalism.
no, no,
That's its entire
there's
mission statement. That's
a
why they
lot of
exist.
things that they're trying to promote through that, but I mean, their
Today,
vessel
but
their
dude, like,
vessel
okay,
is the realtor.
do I have to do I have to pull up the
Their
preamble? I mean, what
vessel
do I
for
have to do
all
here? Are you really debating with me that the mission statement of a realtor association is to have higher levels of professionalism?
their vessel and all that is the realtor. All that is supposed to be in that vessel that is a realtor, okay? And more people are using them than ever before. And I'm just saying that's
Uh, again, you're a slippery one on this issue. Are you disagreeing? Will you agree that the mission statement of realtor associations is to have higher levels of professionalism?
I, of course, yes.
Okay. So then the product has to be higher levels of
That is
professionalism.
they have those ethics, those criteria, so that their product is better, right? That their product will be used, that their product will be adopted.
You can't, dude, you can't say the product is realtor no matter how shitty, and then say your mission statement is to have professionalism. Your product has to be professional, high quality, competent
Okay, but
realtors.
again, how do you measure that you're successful in that? I would say you measure that is being successful by, is the market using them? Is the market using them? Right? That's how.
And right, and what we said is 80% of the market uses them,
Okay.
20%
Okay.
use the
And again, any
80% who
product's
are
gonna,
incompetent. Then if your product is
again.
professional, you need to stomp out the 80% that are creating
I'm not. I mean,
20% of
I'm
consumers to
with
have a
you. Like,
shitty
I want more
experience.
professional and competent agents, absolutely. But I'm saying that it is an interesting
That's
signal.
right. So hold on a second. Okay, fine. You want
Of
more
course, I do.
competent professional agents. Whose whose job is it to create professional competent agents? Whose mission statement says we create more competent and more professional real estate agents?
Well, again, it's that is, if you want to be a realtor, it would be, that would be the NARs. Yes.
Right. Right. So presumably, if NR were living up to its mission and its product identity, only 20% of real estate agents in the country would have a realtor designation.
Well, again, is it just try. Oh, fuck. No,
I got you.
no,
I got
no,
you.
no, you didn't
I
get me.
got
No, you
you.
didn't get me. Let me just put this in there again. Going back to the aspirational thing. Yes, NAR has these criterion that they want their agents to reflect, but it's an aspirational thing. It's something they want. Some people will reach all those things, and some people
Okay.
will not. Okay, and
Sure.
they've got to hopefully
Sure.
have the people that are actually doing transactions are going to do that, because we think that they're more competent. And I'm just saying that currently, right now, right, as a signal from the market, is NAR doing their job? and that is, putting out a product. And I know you hate that word, that more people want to
No,
use.
the answer is
Can I
no.
finish? I can,
The answer
can
is
I
no,
finish?
Greg. The
Can,
answer
can
is
I
no. Because
finish?
here's why. No, you can't because you're trying
No.
to weave this stupid ass story
No.
without acknowledging the flaw,
Okay,
the
so we
central
we can just
flaw.
interrupt each
If
other without letting
NARs
the other person
no,
say their thought.
well, like we don't do that before. Oh my god, mommy and daddy are fighting. Listen, you just said it's aspirational,
Yeah,
right?
it's a
Okay, I agree.
okay.
I agree. You can't be aspirational when everybody has it.
Everybody?
Everybody. 1.5 million. We just agreed 80% of them should not
It's
be in
not everybody,
business.
but yeah, yeah.
1.5 million out of 2 million. If it really were 20%, then only 400,000 people would have the realtor designation. That would be aspirational. The other 80% could have wannabe realtor designations. They could have the aspirational realtor designations. And if that were the case, I would agree with you. When usage of realtors, the 400,000 is going up, cool. NAR is succeeding. When use of realtors with everybody having the designation, even though it's to your point, it's aspirational, and we just agreed 80% of them aren't living up to it, then that's a failure. It's the
But
exact
no, no, no,
opposite
no.
of what you're
So
talking
look at
about.
it this way: like, okay, I'm joining this organization. This organization has these guidelines and these rules and these aspirational things that they want me to do, um, and I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to espouse that, right? But I'm either too busy, I'm either not focused, I'm either whatever else, and whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Mm-hmm.
reaching that level of doing
Mm-hmm.
that, and therefore the side effect of that is I'm not doing any business, right? But the people that are doing
Mm-hmm.
that, that are following those things, are doing business, right? So it's not like you
Mm-hmm.
can, it's like you can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, you have to be there to have that light that people want to go to aspire to. Okay, hold on.
I
And so
agree. It's
far
real
right
simple, man.
now,
It's go
so
ahead.
far right now,
Mm-hmm.
in that model they have now, the NAR has now, more people are using their members than ever before. All right. So we're not there yet,
Mm-hmm.
right? We don't have perfect whatever. We may never have it, but the model, you could argue the model isn't that broken right now, right? I mean, it's huh?
It's that broken. It's
I'm
that
saying it's
broken. It's
not
real
broken. it
simple,
could it
right?
could be that it's
You're
not broken.
no.
Well, because
Why?
more people are
Why?
using
I
them.
don't know what that
If it
means.
was broken, then you would, that's a clear signal that okay, things are freaking wrong here, right? There's less people using realtors than ever before, right? Then you could really,
Yeah, dude, you're
no,
mixing
you're
shit up to
no.
make some point that it can't be made. It's real simple. Again, go a step back to yeah, I joined this organization and I aspire. I want to do the right things, but I'm busy, I'm lazy, I'm stupid, so I actually don't do any of those things. You know what? How about this? You don't get to call yourself a realtor. How about that?
How about like,
It's aspirational. One day
yes,
you will reach this. For now, because you're not doing those things, you don't get to call yourself a realtor.
right, and
What would be wrong with that?
right. This goes into our whole thing. I mean, of the number of dues paying members, does that matter for NAR? And I would say yes, because that gives them
Of
capital, that
course.
gives them to do everything they're doing. So this might be what do they call that? Uh, lesser evil, in a sense of like
No, I think you would have to call it a betrayal of your ideals in order for to make money,
the black and white world of Rob
right? Because
Hahn.
the other way, hold on, because the other way they could have done this is the way that, like, say, CCIM does it. You could have said, hey, you know what? 80% of you guys are realtor applicants. 80% of you guys are junior realtors. You guys are realtor wannabes. You're realtor apprentices. You're not a realtor yet. 20% of you who have proven you are now master realtors. You are now truly a realtor. They could have done that. And by the way, you got to pay dues as a realtor applicant, right? You don't pay those dues, then you don't even get to be an applicant. You're just a real estate agent. Have fun. They can't even do that.
Yeah, there's something in that model. I kind of like, I mean, I wasn't aware of that, but there is something there like you have to have done X in order. I mean, all the standard stuff.
or
Right. All the
whatever it
standard
is.
things.
But you have to go through an oral exam. You have to be questioned by a panel of master realtors as to your knowledge and
Is
competence
this
and
is this
customer
the
service
Jedi
levels.
Council
And
here with the Padawans and the yeah.
yeah, why not? Why not? Why not? What would be so wrong with that? After 20, 30, 40 fucking years of this spinning the wheel and pretending, there's nothing we can do and blah, blah, blah. And come
I
on,
do like
guys.
that.
At
I do
some
like
point,
that. There's a model there of a junior realtor versus a full realtor, whatever the nomenclature we kind of
yeah,
saying before. There's something to that. Yeah.
realtor apprentice, realtor journeyman,
Right.
master
Right. I
realtor.
mean,
In order to become master realtor, you have to get interviewed by a council of master realtors who will examine your transactions, ask you all kinds of questions, and they'll be like, hey, you know what? You are qualified. Welcome to
right.
master
Or
realtor
it could be
ranks.
just a number of like keeping
What
transactions in a scorecard or something. I mean, you know,
But I'm saying you can do it best
right.
beyond just transaction count, right? You could be like, oh, I see in this transaction, you really service this consumer, to this extra level, and the consumer is super happy, and your sellers and buyers are writing you recommendation letters. I have never had a better experience than with Beth because, oh my God, Beth went the extra mile, and I felt so taken care of. Cool, welcome, you're a master realtor.
No, and
Even though you only
it
do
is
six
a
transactions a year, every transaction you do is at this
I mean, I've
incredible
always
level of
thought that, like,
competence.
these designations we have in the industry, like BCE and the FBO, and
Oh my God. There's
it's
just
all,
money
a lot
making
of it is. But I
scams.
mean,
I mean,
what you're proposing, which I'm really liking, is like,
yeah.
these are these are something clear that a realtor can kind of communicate with their client. Well, and they could
Yes.
also like
Yes.
say it in a non-disparaging way. Well, yeah, I mean, I know you met with Vicky early on. I mean, she's a designated one. I'm full. I'm at a 3. um Vicky's great, but let me tell you about what it takes to be a designation 3 realtor. I mean, that's a
Right.
great pitch, and that also gives Vicky, she wants to be there, so nobody can kind of say she's level 3 and I'm level 1, and there's a process to go there. I like that. I like what I'm smelling what you're
Yeah.
cooking, Rob.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
See,
no,
I
I
knew
think
we
you're
would end
wrong on
up
the other
eventually
point. I mean, I think
agreeing.
I still, more people are using realtors, so something's working right. But I get what you're saying.
No, more people are using real estate agents. And we just agreed 80% of those realtors should not be realtors. So you can't really, I mean,
Okay,
you
all right,
know,
okay.
so anyway, I can't believe we dragged out that
It's almost an hour now.
little
Jesus.
fucking 1,000-watt research into a raise the bar
No,
conversation that
but
goes an hour.
I think we. I mean, again, I don't know how we do it, but I mean, we pull in these kind of conversations, we pull something out, and I think we pulled something out here with this.
Yeah.
What you're talking about.
All right, cool. No,
Yeah.
I'm glad you. Yeah. So look, I know a lot of people are probably real pissed off at me, but all I'm getting at is just get rid of all these stupid ass designations and make realtor that designation, right? And figure out a way where only like 10 to 20% the truly competent, representatives out there that they can carry the realtor flag, and everybody else gets to be realtor apprentice, realtor journeyman, realtor applicant, whatever you want to call it, right? And all those people get paid dues, all those people have to comply with all the rules, but you don't get realtor until you've reached that level, and all of your peers, the other
Love it,
master realtors in your market, all
Rob.
acknowledge you as
That's
one of
really
them.
good stuff, man. I love that. I love that. Cool.
Cool. All right.
All right. No,
Let's leave
yeah.
it there because we ended on a high note. Hey, thanks to everybody for listening to us argue and debate. Because guess what? Through
Oh,
that
no, we
debate,
do this all the
we
time.
came to
I love
enlightenment.
these kind of conversations, so that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm
All right.
looking forward to my
Thanks,
steak dinner
everybody.
soon.